Hi everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation, and today we're going to do the tutorial on this awesome album that I made, my Trifold Folio album, and this is a design team project for Country Craft Creations using 49 Market's Nature's Haven. I can't wait to show you how I put it together. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, tutorial is coming up. Good morning, everybody. This is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations, and today we're going to start working on my tutorial for my Trifold Folio album that I'm making with 49 Market's Nature's Haven. This is a great project, and I love it, and I think you will too. So I want to start by talking about the cover. Now, I did use the lay flat method for this cover. And but the only difference is that I added 2 spines instead of 3. So you just need to make an extra spine. So I do have all of the measurements down below. So I'm going to just talk you through it. But basically, this is the lay flat cover. So as you know, we've done in the past, you know, you have your back and front cover and your spine. We're just going to add another spine and another cover. So that's all you need to do is just boom, 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 make it. This will fold in on itself. So when you look at it from the top view, you're going to have the 2-inch spine. Let me make sure you can see that. Yep. 2-inch spine on the left, and then you have a 1-inch spine on the right. And the covers will go straight to the spine. We are not going to add any hinges on these spines on the inside. All of the interaction and elements will be on the actual covers of the project. Okay, so don't worry about any making any hinges or pages or anything like that. We're going to actually put things on the covers. So let's talk about the sizes here real quick. And I'm sorry, I did not write it down on cards, and I should have done that, but let's just talk about it. It's really super simple. And again, the lay flat method, I do have a video. I'll link that below too if you're not familiar with it, and I'll show you exactly how to put these things together, how to wrap them, how to do all that. So first off, you need 3 pieces of heavyweight chipboard, and I did receive that in my design team package. So 3 pieces that are 6 by 8. So that'll be the front cover, the back cover, and then I'm calling this piece here, sorry about the ribbon here, the inside right cover. Okay, and that just folds into the piece. And then you need 2 spines. One is 2 by 8, that's on the left. One is 1 by 8, that's on the right. And that is what you need for the chipboard. Now, for cardstock, to cover the covers, you need 3 pieces of cardstock that's 8 by 10. For the outside 2-inch spine, you need a piece that's 5 by 10. For the spine on the right, the 1-inch spine, you need a piece that's 4 by 10. And then for the insides, for the 2-inch side, you need a piece that is, I used a piece that is 4 by 7 and 7/8. And I use scraps, and usually I either go over the actual little wings that I created, but this time I went under, and that's okay. But what you want is just kind of that leveling off so you don't have like a huge pile of cardstock on your covers. So I ended up covering the 2-inch one with a 4 by 7 and 7/8 inch piece of cardstock. And then over here, I used a piece that is 4 by 7 and 7/8 as well. So you can use 2 pieces that are like that. And I think that was, yeah, what I wanted to let you know. So anyway, that's the pieces that you need to cover your pieces. And then we're going to go ahead and start adding some interactions on here. So what we're going to do, I do have my cover pieces picked out, and you did see that on the sneak peek, but I put those off to the side. I'm going to put those on last because I don't want all the little laser cuts to, you know, possibly get messed up with all of the manipulation in making the book. But I did go ahead and add this beautiful crinkle ribbon. This, again, I did get from the Country Craft Creations Design Team package. And this is the 2-inch crinkle chiffon ribbon in sage. It's absolutely beautiful. And I just love this. So I did add a piece to the front cover. And then as this is folded, I added a piece to the back cover. And I just simply centered it. So there's that. So now let's work on our waterfall that we're going to put on the inside front cover. So we're going to put this on, again, the inside front cover, and I'm going to put this off to the side and grab a few pieces here. So you will need a couple things. I am going to use some of this ribbon to tie this closed. So I've got 2 pieces that are about 14 inches long, and this came in my design package as well, this red and white check gingham. And then I did grab a piece of the pattern paper. I did cut this piece out because we will need to put that down before we put the waterfall on. So this piece here measures 5 7/8 by 7 7/8, and isn't that just gorgeous? I love that. I love these pieces. They're just gorgeous. And then you need your pieces for your waterfalls. So you will need 4 pieces all together. It's going to have multiple pages that are 5 by 3.5. So they're a great size for photos, and you're going to have quite a few of them on this page. So the first piece is 5 by 10.5. The second piece is 5 by 9.5, 5 by 8.5, and then 5 by 7.5. So the 4 pieces. And then we're doing my stacked waterfall. So again, I do have a video that I will link down below if you're not familiar with that. And I will, but I will show you. They're very easy to put together and only requires a few pieces instead of a bunch of smaller pieces. So I really like this method. It works really well for me. On all of these, when you figure out what your page size is, that's where you're going to score. So the pieces are, again, 5 inches wide. They're all 5 inches wide, but they vary in length. You put the longest side in your scoreboard, and I designed this one to be 3.5 by 5 pages. So you're going to score at 3.5, and then you're going to turn it around, and you're going to score at 3.5. You're going to do that with all of your pieces. Now, as you go down the pieces, again, always put the longest side at the top. You're going to notice that these middle score sections, which are theoretically spines, are going to be narrower in width. Super easy. So you just score at 3.5, turn, score at 3.5, and that's all you have to do. So you're going to do that with all of your pieces. And then we'll put this to the side and grab our pieces. Now you're going to want to fold and burnish, and then just make sure that everything is nice and straight. All right, let me make sure I'm in camera here. And then we'll grab that back in just a second because we'll use that, or you can use your grid. I'll show you how to use your grid also, but there's a couple different ways that you can line these up. If you don't have a grid on your desk, you can use your scoreboard, or you can use spacers, you can use a ruler, whatever works for you. The gussets for this waterfall will be 1/2 inch, and I'll show you in a second how that all lines up, but fold and burnish all of these pieces. There we go, like so. All right, now you can either use, like I said, a grid, and what you're going to want to do is you're just going to line this up on your grid and make sure everything is nice and straight, okay? And when you do that, like I put the score line on a thick line here, and then you measure over 1/2 inch, and then that's where you take the next longest piece. So this is the 10.5, you'll take the 9.5 inch piece, fold one of those pages over. This edge will line up at the 1/2 inch mark. Okay, so that's where you get your 1/2 inch gusset, and you can go ahead and lay that down. So I'll show you kind of the different methods with the different pages. So then you can kind of, if you're not familiar with this, you can kind of decide which one works better for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this 9.5 inch piece over. You've got that middle section that's kind of like a spine. We're going to just put glue on that, and I'm using my art glitter glue here. And I'm going to turn this over, make sure everything is still nice and lined up. And then I'm going to just line that up at the 1/2 inch mark using my grid on my desk as a guide and lay that down. And then you should have a 1/2 inch there, okay? So that's kind of method number 1 on how to do that. Okay, method number 2. Let's talk about using spacers here real quick, because I mentioned that and then I haven't used them in a while, so I'll show you that. So at Country Craft Creations, we have these great spacers, and they come in packs that have 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch, and they're really good for like card making and things like that. They also work really, really well for making these waterfalls, because we're going to take the next one and I'll show you. This is a different method. This is a 1/2 inch spacer, and I'm just lining that up at that score line. And if you don't have a grid on your desk, then you don't need one, because you've got this to give you that 1/2 inch width, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this over. This is the next longest piece. So this is the 8.5 inch long piece, and we will glue here. All right. And then we'll just pop that down, and we're just going to put it right up against that spacer and lay that down. Okay, that'll give you that 1/2 inch gusset on either side. Okay, now always make sure you don't have glue seeping up where you don't want it, okay, because you don't want your pages to glue together. Okay, so always double check that. Okay, and then just burnish that down. Okay, so that's method number 2, using your spacer. Then what you can also do is use your scoreboard, and I turn it sideways so that I can use the edge here to keep everything nice and straight on the side, but then you also have your ruler here. Now you'll notice, hopefully, that this score line, this middle score line, is now at 4.5, okay? So all I have to do is line up my next piece, which is my last piece, and that has the last 1/2 inch spine. I just have to line that up at the 5 inch mark, okay? And that will give me my 1/2 inch gusset. And then I can also use this to help keep things straight. Okay, so those are the 3 different kind of ways you can do this. Now you can also, you know, get your ruler out and do that, but I just thought, you know, in tutorials I always mention the different ways, but I thought this time I would show you kind of visually. Those are some of the ways that you can do it. Okay, so now that we have our waterfall done, we can grab our book and oh, I forgot something. I forgot to unpause my video while I was getting these pages that I kind of forgot. So sorry about that. We're going to go over it again. So get 2 pieces that are 6 by 8, and you're going to score both pieces at 1/2 and at 3/4. That's going to give you a little 1/4 inch gusset, and fold and burnish, and then miter the 1/2 inch pages. Okay, so we're going to do that. You need 2 of those, and then you're going to grab your cover. And then what I ended up doing was putting the seam binding down. That's the next step. So take your seam binding. The next step is to put your ribbon on your book. So the cover is 6 inches, so I just centered it at 3 inches, and I just laid that down. So top and bottom, that's where those are going to go. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to put glue on your 1/2 inch spine here on your pages, not on the 1/4 inch, because we want that little, you know, give space. That's going to go around that waterfall. And you're going to just line this up to the left side, top and bottom of your cover, okay? And I'm going to burnish that down, then I'm going to open that up and burnish that down, okay? So we'll do one on either side. So we'll do one on each side. So I'm going to take my second piece. So again, we made 2 of these. And this one here, I want to make sure that it's not into the spine. So I'm going to go right to the edge there. So I want to make sure that I don't get into the score, just to the edge of where my cover is going to fold, okay? So if I fold my book up, you know, I don't want it in that score, okay? And I want it even, so I'm gonna put that down, okay? So that's that. The next thing we're gonna do is put this piece of paper down on the inside. So again, this is 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. So that's gonna go and cover up all of this business. Now, 49 in market paper is really thick, so I'm gonna double mat a little bit on the outside cover, but I'm not gonna really do a whole lot on the inside because this paper, I'm really not sure what thickness it is, but it feels like 100-pound to me. It's very thick, and I love it. Now, but it is thick, okay? So we're gonna have a nice little border edge around and cover up all of that, okay? And then I'm gonna grab my other spreader here and spread that around, okay? Okay, let me find my cloth. All right, I also, I'm using the Natural Artisan Cardstock color. I thought it was really pretty and light and showed off the papers really, really well, but also gave kind of, you know, like another accent color. It kind of brought out a little bit of the yellows in the paper. So I am not inking. I don't want to ink anything. Now this is going to fit right in here. And I'm going to kind of center this so it's about 1/2 inch on all of the sides. And then when we glue this down, we're only going to glue that spine so that when we get to the last page, I can show you, when we raise it up, we'll still get to see this beautiful image down here. And you still have a space you could put a picture here. All right. So we're going to just put glue on that outside spine. All right, and then we're going to lay that down, and I'm just going to eyeball center this, but you can definitely get your ruler out if you would like. We're going to glue that down. Like so. Okay. I'm just kind of pressing in between. To make sure everything's stuck. Look at all the picture opportunities you have now. This album will be loaded with opportunities for your photos, and you're not even going to have really pages on your spine, so that's kind of cool. So then those will fold up like so. We will decorate this, you know, I'll show you about that later, but then these will tie over the top and keep everything nice and secure. And then when you open it up, you're going to have that surprise with the waterfall on the inside. Okay, with our book closed, we've done the inside front cover. Now we're going to do the inside right cover. Okay, so I'm going to open that up, turn that over like this. This is what we're going to work on next. So what we're going to need for this, we're going to make one of my never-ending albums on this cover, but it's also going to be removable, which is fun. So we are going to need a few things with this. We are going to need a few pieces of our cardstock. We're going to need a base to put on the page, and then we're going to need a couple sets of magnets. I'm using the large magnets from Basic Gray, and they are very strong, as you can tell. We're going to use 2 of those. So I did get these again from Country Craft Creations. We're also going to need some ribbon to wrap around this album. Okay, so first off, let's make this album. So you will need 3 pieces of paper, and this is fun. I love making these. You can make these any size. The best part of this whole thing is you just need 3 pieces of paper that are exactly the same size. So you are going to need 2 pieces, and these are 7 by 10. Put them in with the 10 at the top. Score at 5. Okay, so 2 of those you're going to score at 5, and then just leave those alone. Now the third one, we will go ahead and score at 5, but then what you're going to do is you're going to turn it over, and I'm just going to flip it so that I make sure that my scores are in the right spot. I'm going to score at 4.5 and score at 5.5. Okay, so the third piece has 3 scores, but 2 of them are opposite of each other because I want the scores to go in the direction I want them to go. All right, so we are going to fold and burnish. So we're going to fold our score lines. So this is the last one we just did. It has the 3 score lines. So I'm going to fold the middle and then I'm going to fold it back out. So it's going to make a W shape. Okay. And that's what you want on that third one. Okay. So you have your scores going like that. Okay. Our other 2 will go like this. One there. One there. Making sure everything's nice and even. Then the fun part of this is how it goes together because it's really super simple. So you're going to take your 2 cards and let me see. I want to make sure you can see this. Okay, so you're going to take your first 2 pieces and you're going to line them up like this. So your folds are over here, your open sides are over here. We're going to take this piece here and put it so the W is facing towards the right, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to glue these 1/2-inch pieces to here, okay? So what will happen is that you'll end up with a piece that will open up like this. So you just want the glue to be joining this 1/2-inch piece to this kind of inside edge of these cards that we made with the 4x7 cards. Now, the easiest way that I have found to do it is to do it just like this. So do it kind of up and down, make sure everything is nice and straight, okay? And then if you want, you can grab, let me see if I have one available here. You can grab a clip and you can kind of clip them together so they don't go anywhere, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to put glue, and you want to be kind of gentle with the glue because you don't want it to be gluing where you don't want it. So you don't want it in the score because that'll glue your pages together. So I'm just going to put a little bit in here. Okay, just don't go crazy with the glue because again, you don't want to glue those other 2 pages together. All right. And then we're going to just pinch those 2 pieces together. And then we're going to pop it in the middle and then just pinch, okay? And then just glue those down. And then I'm just pressing the glue. And then what we're going to do is real quick, I'm going to open all of this up. You see how, when I turn it to the side, you see how that opens up here? That's why we want to make sure we don't put glue in that score line because we want those pages to open up. Okay, so this is how it looks now, all glued together. So I'm just going to kind of put it down. I'm going to burnish it a little bit. I'm going to open the whole piece up, burnish that down a little bit, and then this is what you're going to get, okay? So then when it folds up, it goes like this. So now you have the 2 cards on the outside. The W one is on the inside, and when it opens up, it goes like this and like this, and then you turn the page, and then here's the other W side, and then like that. But then you also have the middle, and that's why it's called a never-ending book, because now you're back to the beginning. Okay, so once you get that done, then what we're going to need to do is we're going to turn this over and let's put our ribbon on. So this is 7 inches tall. So we're going to center that at 3.5. Grab our score tape and put a little tape on here. Now I could use my grid as well if I wanted to on this desk here. I also did cut these at 14 inches again. Okay. You can always trim these later. All right, so these are going to wrap around to the front of the book and tie it shut, okay? Let's go ahead and just do that. And then we're going to go back to the album, to the back of it, and set our magnets. Okay, so that'll be the front, okay? W piece is on the right side on the inside, and then you have your 2 cards here, okay, front of the album. So let's turn it over to the back. Again, we have our magnets, so we're going to go ahead and just set those. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one about here, like just at the top, kind of in the middle ish. Okay, one up, one down. Okay, then let's grab our book. Okay, so this is going to go again on the inside front cover, and what we need to do is set our magnets. Okay, now this will go on the page like so, just centered right in the middle. Okay, so we need to set our magnets before we put the pattern paper on. So what we're going to do is take these off. Okay, and again, I'm going to stand up so I can see what I'm doing here, and I'm just going to pop that right in the center, okay, like so. Okay, press those magnets down, and then I'm going to pop this off. Okay, then I'm going to grab some score tape because I like to put a little extra piece of score tape on here just to help secure my magnets. So I do that on the cover. I'm going to do that on the page. Okay, and then the next thing to do is grab your pattern paper that's going to cover the cover. So again, 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. So I wanted the grid with the 365. I thought that was pretty. So take off my tape. I'm gonna lay that down. Center that. See, don't you think the natural really looks good with this paper? I love it. So I'm going to press around here. And I'm using my fingers kind of going around the magnets. Okay. All right. Then there you go. So this, you can go ahead and undo it, you know, from here and look at your beautiful never-ending album, and it'll open up this way, or you can take it off and use it. So that is kind of the beauty of this particular piece, and I love this. I have done this in another album. I did a removable one. I absolutely love this idea. I thought this was kind of fun. So just another way to do an interaction that I thought was kind of fun. So that is the second part. So we got that part done. So now the next part we're going to work on is going to be in the center. So now we're going to work on the middle section here. So I'm going to put this off to the side and grab a few things. So get your scoreboard out. We're going to make a couple more of these big pages. So these are just like the ones that we made before on the previous section. So they're 6 by 8. We're going to put them in our scoreboard, score at 1/2 and at 3/4. Okay, and then you will, you know, fold, kind of already pre-scored, but fold and burnish, and then miter the 1/2 inch piece only. So you will have a 1/4 inch gusset on these pages. All right, so make 2 of those. So have those ready to go. We will need a belly band. So our belly band here is 9 inches by 3 1/4. On the 9 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2 and at 8 1/2, and then fold and burnish. Okay, and I'm not going to go ahead and miter these because these are going to be behind everything and covered up with pattern paper, so you can leave those as is. And then what you're going to need is to make 3 pockets. I've already made 2, so you need 3 of these. These are 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. On the 4 1/4 inch side, score at 1/2 and at 3 3/4. And then you can turn, and on the 3 3/4, I want you to score at 1/2. Okay? And then what we'll do is we're going to make these into pockets. And again, you need 3 of these. And I'm just going to cut real sharply right through those score lines, right to the corner there. And that helps take bulk away from the corners of your pockets. Okay. And then you will want to fold and burnish these. Okay. Okay, so you'll have 3 of these. Okay, so I have my 3 pockets done. We're going to need 2 pieces, 14 inches of the yellow seam binding. I did use that from the design team package. All right, and then we do need 1 more piece of pattern paper because we do need to lay this down. And I'll show you how I kind of do that underneath a belly band. So this is again 5 7/8 by 7 7/8. And then the other thing we will need from the paper collection, they had these beautiful tags, and I went ahead and cut 3 of those out. These, when you cut them out, measure 3 by 6. Okay, so I used 3 of those. So if you aren't using this paper collection, you can just make tags out of regular cardstock 3 by 6. Let's see, I think that's it. So let's put, oh, this is the last thing. So we're gonna have a booklet to go under the belly band because you have to have something to go under the belly band. This is 10 by 7. We're going to score at 5, and then we're going to fold and burnish, and that's going to give you a 5 by 7 booklet. Okay, so let's put this out of the way and grab our book. The first thing we're going to want to do is lay our seam binding down. So I'm gonna grab my seam binding and my ruler and my score tape, and we're going to just center, and this one's going to center on the sides. So I'm looking at the score line of my book here. I'm trying to find, you know, the actual like cover size. So again, this is my spine, so I don't want to go into my spine. I want it right to the edge where that, you know, chipboard is, where the cover is. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess. Can't use my words fully yet. I've only had, you know, like 4 cups of caffeinated tea, and I still can't use my words. So I don't know what to do. It's Saturday when I'm filming this, and I worked the week, and it was quite a busy week. Yesterday was a little bit better, but it's been quite a busy week. And yeah, I think I'm tired. We got a busy weekend ahead of us. So, all right, so I'm gonna lay this seam binding down, centering it. Gonna lay that down right there. And then I'm gonna center it on this side and lay it over here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more score tape over top because I like to just secure my stuff really well. I just don't want, it would just make me crazy if I went to pull, you know, my bow apart and my seam binding came out of my project. That would be bad. So I always like to put a little extra, even though I'm gonna glue paper on top of it too. That's just my MO. Okay, so we got that. The next thing is the belly band. Okay, the belly band is just gonna be centered top and bottom. Okay, and that'll go just like this. So I'm gonna just I'll start with the bottom here. I'll just put one side on at a time. I'm gonna add glue to that 1/2 inch, and I'm gonna center from the bottom. So it's 6 inches wide, so 3 inches side to side there. And this will center at 1 5/8 from the center, okay? And then that will lay at the top like that. Okay, so I'm just lining it up right to the bottom of my cover. Okay, I'm gonna do that. And then we'll go ahead and put some glue here. And then I'm just gonna lay that down nice and straight, and that should line up with the top. Okay. All right, everybody, I totally goofed this one up, so I am doing a redo here. You can see I put down paper, and I wasn't supposed to put down the paper yet, and so it looks terrible. But what I did was I quickly lifted it up, and what we're gonna do is we need to add our pages before we put that pattern paper down. And I don't know what I was thinking. I just got ahead of myself. So we're just going to have a little redo. So we have put our seam binding down. We put our belly band down. The next thing we need to do is put our pages down. Okay. So we're going to do a redo. Yeah, got ahead of myself. I don't know what my problem is today. I told you I need more caffeine, I guess. So I'm going to take that off really quick because this page is going to lay down right at the edge of that cover and create a page. So I'm going to need to put glue down here. And don't worry, because this will all get covered up, so nobody's ever going to know, and you guys aren't going to tell anybody that I goofed up. All right, so I'm going to lay that down, making sure I'm right at the edge of my cover that I'm trying to cover. Fuzzies over here. And lay that down, okay? That's going to be that page. So one on each side. And so you can see where the binding is coming up. That's going to just be right beside the binding. We're going to do the same thing over here. So here is our other page. All right. I'm going to fold that, glue on the 1/2 inch piece. Okay. And then we're going to just line this up again to the edge of that cover, making sure not to go in our score for our spine. A little fuzzy there. And lay that down. Ay, ay, ay. There we go. Okay, so that is what we should have done first. Okay. But you didn't see that because I cut that part out. Ha ha. Okay, so open this up. I got a new piece of paper. This is going to slide underneath this belly band, and that's going to cover it all up, and nobody is ever going to know that we did that, right? So I'm just trying to get that underneath there. That's going to cover up all of our tabs, all of that business that I just created, and be really pretty, okay? So I'm just going to put that, center it where I want it, and then what I'm going to do is lift this up. I'm going to take that extra piece of score tape off. Okay, and then I'm going to just put glue under the edge here. So not the end of the world. I could totally fix that. I just had to kind of pry that paper out of there real quick. Once I glued it down, I realized what I did. So it was pretty easy to do. I'm just going to lay that down. I have a spatula from my Cricut that works really well at doing stuff like that. So I always have that handy on my desk for when I have my little moments like this. Okay. And I had a lot of paper, so I had extra. So now let me flip this around and we'll do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to grab that score tape piece off from helping to secure my seam binding. Put this down. Of course, maybe I've had too much caffeine. Maybe that's what my problem is. My brain's racing and it's getting ahead of itself. Very well could be too. But it sure doesn't feel like that's the problem. Okay. Here we go. All right. Now that is covered up. Okay. So back to the beginning. All right. We've got our belly band on. We've got our paper behind. And then we've got our pages right here. The seam binding will go over and tie everything shut. Now what we have to do is add the pockets to our belly band. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 3 of these pockets for those tags that I showed you, and we're going to start by going 1.5 inches up the belly band. Okay, they'll be staggered about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to just use my centering ruler here from the very bottom, and we're going to go 1.5 inches, and that's where we're going to lay the back pocket down. Okay, now you can also do a little notch here if you would like, and I think I'm going to do that so let's just go ahead and grab this. So this measures from the center 3 1/4. So we need to line this up at 1 5/8 and put a little notch. And then I'll show you about the pattern paper here in just a second, okay? On how to punch that out. Okay, so I'm gonna just glue the bottom here first. And again, I'm gonna line it up at 1 1/2 inches. Okay, so the bottom of that pocket is at 1 1/2 inches. This pocket will go across the entire width of the belly band. Okay, we're gonna glue that down, fold that over, grab a little clear tape, and put that down, okay? And then we're gonna go ahead and finish our pocket. So a little glue on those 1/2 inch pieces, and then fold that up, okay? One pocket done. Okay. Second pocket. Okay, got to punch those. So again, let's do them all. Might as well do them all at the same time. So 1 5/8, lining that edge up at 1 5/8 over here on my envelope punch board. And again, this is totally, you know, optional. You do not have to do this if you don't want to. You can just use a circle punch, whatever you want to do. Get that out of the way. This second pocket is going to line up at 3/4 inch. So we're going to just glue the bottom again. I'm going to put this down here at the 0 mark, and I'm going to lay this down at 3/4 inch up from the bottom of that belly band. Okay, that's the second one. So they'll be staggered 3/4 inch. Okay. All right, again, grab some tape because we want to make sure that when we put the tags in, they're going to, I cut that a little too long, they're going to be covered, these little tabs and everything, so that the tags do not get hung up, okay? I don't know where all these fuzzies come from. Do you guys have that problem too? Fuzzies everywhere. No matter how much I dust, no matter what I do, just fuzzies everywhere. Okay, glue up the side. All right. Make sure we don't glue our belly band down to our page because we want to be able to use that. All right. Last pocket will glue at the very bottom of the belly band. So you're going to end up with 3 pockets. Okay, so bottom, we don't have to measure anymore because it's just going to go right to the bottom of that belly band, like so. Okay, then we'll go ahead and tape. Okay, right over top of that, and then glue the sides up. Lather, rinse, repeat, right? Okay. Once that is done, this is where our pockets, or our tags are going to go, in our pockets. Okay. And the reason why I staggered them at 3/4 inch is because of this piece right here. They were 3/4 inch tall. Okay, so that's where those are going to go. Now, to make the pattern paper for those pockets, so this is the piece that I pulled out from underneath, and I'm just going to go ahead and use that for the pocket. So I want to show you how to punch that notch. Okay, so I cut this piece at 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. And I'm going to put this in here. So 3 1/8 centered is like a 1/16 more than 1 1/2. So I'm going to put this in my punch board, and I'm going to line it up right in between the 1 1/2 and 1 5/8 mark, which would be a 1/16 inch more than 1.5, and I'm going to punch that, okay? And then when I glue that down, that will go, that's right in the center, and that will line up just like that. So let me take these out for just a sec, and then I'll show you the other two pieces I just cut at 3 1/8 by 2, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line it up right in between the 1.5 and 1 5/8 inch mark and punch. And one more time, 1.5 and 1 5/8 and punch. Okay. We don't need to go all the way into the pockets because we used our tape trick. So I'm just going to be able to tuck those in and glue those down like so. Okay. So that's how we're going to do that. I need to sharpen my punch board. Try that foil thing and see if that works. I need some heavy duty foil though, because I don't have any right now. So I'm going to do that. Okay. So let's just glue those down so you can see what that looks like. But that's how you cut the pattern paper and punch it for that. Okay, so this first piece is going to go down. So I didn't really waste my paper. I was able to pull it out from underneath that belly band, and I was able to use it still, so that was good, right? All right, so that one goes there. And then we're going to turn it to the side, and I'm going to pop it in. Make sure it's going to lay down where I want it. Okay, lift it up. Then I'm going to put a little glue down here carefully and lay that down. Now this will also help cover the tabs from the pocket below it. Let's pop this guy in. Okay. Again, I'm going to lift it up very carefully. Use my glue. That's the other nice thing about the nice fine line tips for our art glitter glue that you can get at Country Craft Creations, because you'll be able to kind of pop in there. And then I'm doing it at a weird angle because I'm trying to film it so you guys can see it. But when you're doing it on your own and you're not filming, you can get right up in it and do it. All right, so then I just need one more piece that's going to go in here, but I'll get that later. Okay, and then here you go. You can pop your tags in here like so. Okay, so we have that. And then I will go ahead and put some ribbons and things on there too, which is going to bulk it up, which is why I went ahead and put the 1/4 inch gusset there. And then we have our booklet here that we can decorate later. That goes under here. Close, close, and tie your seam binding. And I'll do the knots and everything later. But there is our middle section. So we only have one more section to go, which is the inside of the right flap on the other side of our Never Ending album. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this off because that'll be less bulk and I can lay this flat. And I'm just going to put this off to the side for right now, and then we'll get the other pieces for that, and then we will be done with this tutorial. This page requires a few pieces, and I got them sorted out here, and hopefully this time I'll put them in the right order. I write notes, and then I don't read my own notes, which is kind of silly, but there you go. So we will need 2 pieces that are 3 3/4 by 8. We're going to score at 1/2 and at 3/4 on both pieces, and then we're going to fold and burnish both pieces, which I have already done. Okay, and then the one thing I didn't do was miter the 1/2 inch tabs, and again this is going to give us another 1/4 inch space for some room for underneath. Okay, so get those out of the way. So those 2 pieces are done. And then we're going to grab 2 pieces here that are 5 1/2 by 6. Okay. Now on the 6-inch side, since I've got it in here like this, we can score it 5.5. It's going to give you a 5.5 by 5.5 inch page, and you're going to fold and burnish again. And again, you're going to have 2 of these. So just miter those 1/2 inch tabs. Okay. So those are folded and burnished. And then we're going to make some pockets. We're going to make some kind of tall, skinny pockets. So we are going to need 2 sets of each of these. One will be scored on the, sides and then the bottom. So just put one in your scoreboard. This one is 3 by 6. You need 2 of these. Take one and score at half. Turn it so that score is at the top. Score at half. Now the other one will be scored opposite. Okay, so on the 3-inch side, we're just going to score at 2.5 because we want that score on this side. Then you can turn it, and then you can score the bottom at 1/2. Okay, 2 that are 2.5 by 5. Okay, so again, you're going to score one on the left side at 1/2 on the 2.5-inch side. Turn it, score at half on the bottom. The other one will be scored the opposite direction. So 2.5 at the top, score at 2. Then you can turn it, score at half. Okay, so 2 of those. And then the 2 smaller ones are 2 by 4. Okay, so 2 at the top, score at half. Turn it, score at half. The other one, 2 at the top, score at 1.5. Turn it, score at half. Okay. All right. So these are going to be side opening pockets. Let's get rid of this guy. And for all of these, I'll show you this one and then I'll do the other one so you don't have to watch me do it. We're going to miter like so on the 1/2 inch. Okay. So, and then you will fold and burnish. Okay. To make these skinny pockets, okay, skinny and tall. And then what I'm going to do is I want to use my, if I can find it, my favorite little corner scallop punch. You can use any corner rounder you want. You don't have to use any if you don't want to, but I'm just going to punch that edge away from the thing, the folds. So, okay, just like that, and then miter, 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 okay. Fold and burnish, okay, and then you're good to go, okay. So we're gonna do that with all of those 3 sizes that we just cut, and then I'll be back. So I mitered, folded, burnished, did all the corners, and then I put together one set. So this will be for the right side, and you can see how they're long and skinny, and I just stacked them on top of each other. So I'll show you how to do this. They have a lot of surface area that's going to show, so I'm going to put pattern paper on all of them for the whole, length and width of this pocket. So I'm going to not do the pattern, or the tape trick, because I don't need to. With covering all the tabs with pattern paper. So I'm just going to put glue on both of those and then just line them up and stack them on top of each other so they're graduated, okay? And that is how you do it. So you have one that goes to the left, one that goes to the right, staggered pockets, okay? Like that. So then these will go onto the tall, skinny flaps. All right. So if we fold all of this tab and 1/4 inch gusset in, then these will stack on top of that flap just like that. Okay. Let's go ahead and put glue on those tabs for that pocket assembly. Okay, and that goes right to the edge. We're just stacking that right on top of that page, okay? Okay, so you have this page with the 1, 2, 3 tall, skinny pockets, all right? Next one, we got all the business on the right-hand side. So we're going to do that, fold that down. This will go on the opposite side. Do that. Put glue on that tab. Okay. And that will go right to the edge of this flap. All right, so those pieces are done on the inside of that right flap. So we're not going to need any ribbon closure for this one because this will be closed with tags, okay? So it doesn't matter which order you put these down in, just make sure you don't glue that 1/4 inch gusset. We're going to put glue on the 1/2 inch piece, and we're going to glue this down just like we did the other things. They're going to be to the edge by the spine, top to bottom, okay? So just make sure you don't get it into that score. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's not in the score. Okay, put that down. That's one side. Other side goes right to the edge of the album. So again, we don't want to put glue on that 1/4 inch piece, so just on that 1/2 inch tab. And we're just going to glue that right to the edge of the album cover page, okay? And that should make a cute little gatefold page, okay? Okay, so when you put this together, like so, you'll have those gatefold pages. Now when these open, that's where the other flaps are going to go. Top and bottom, okay? Now these are 5.5, so we will have to center those. You'll have about 1/4 inch to the top and to the sides of these. So you can use your ruler. The covers are 3 inches. So these will line up at 2 3/4, like so. Okay. Okay. So one at the bottom, we'll do one at the top. Now once you did one, you don't have to measure again. This does get pretty big, so I'm trying to fold it up. Because you can line it up with the other page you just placed. So if you're off just a wee bit, as long as it matches the page that you put down first, no one's going to know that it's off, right? Okay, so you just have to put glue. Okay, and I'm just going to use that page that I just put down to line up the sides. And there you go. Okay. Okay, and that is that page. All right, so this will fold like this, and that'll go like this. Now, the next thing I was going to do, in the cut apart pages, there were 2 more like 4x6 cut aparts. My idea was that these would go under here, and then of course I'm going to decorate all this and add pattern paper and all the things. But the closure for here, I want to make some cards to go in there, and that's what's going to be the closure of this particular page. So I'm going to cut some papers. I'll be right back and I'll show you what those look like. So we've all seen pages where we've had pockets that have tags that hold everything closed. I thought a stacked one would be kind of fun to play with, so that's why I did it this way. I took some papers, and I did end up cutting this one out of the same piece of paper. Cut it at a 5 3/4 inch strip, and then I cut this at 7 3/4. And then the remaining strip, or remaining piece, I trimmed it down to 4 by 5 3/4, and that one is going to go into this bottom pocket here, and this one is going to go into the top, and it'll be a full page tag pull out like so. And then I took the other side of the paper and cut a piece that is 5 3/4 by 6. And then that is going to be the tag in here. Now, obviously this isn't finished and not decorated and all that stuff, but there will be pattern paper on the pockets. It'll be really pretty. And then we can make like poles for these. You can do that out of ribbon or make tabs or whatever you want, and then pull those out. But that's kind of an interactive thing. So when they first see this, they'll think, oh yeah, it's just a stacked little tag thing. But wait, there's more, you know, because this will come out, this will come out, this will come out, right? And then there will be pages. You can do some stuff here. You have these pages, and then you have this area where you can lay down some pictures, some photo mats, and do that. All right. So that's what I was thinking with this tutorial. And I think that's the end of the tutorial. Let's get these in the pockets. This will keep, like I said, everything nice and closed. About this is that, you know, you'll be able to, as you pull these out, you know, kind of see what's behind it. So I thought that was kind of a cool idea. And then when it folds up, it'll go like this. You'll have your never-ending album there. That'll go like this. And, you know, it'll have still quite a lot of room. You can still have room for your pictures and everything. And then this will tie in a gorgeous bow right here, and keep everything nice and tidy. All right, so that's the end of the tutorial. I'm going to put a few pictures at the end so you can see the finished product, but that is the end of my tutorial. I hope it made sense, and I hope you have fun making it. If you have any questions, let me know. So please check below. Also, I have cut guide for all of your cardstock and your chipboard, and I also have links to all the products that I used in this design team package, so you can go ahead and go grab some for yourself. So thanks for watching again. Stay crafty, and I will see you again soon. All right, take care. Bye-bye.